Oh, shit.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Enter the Abyss.
My beer just exploded all over me. God damn it.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I was an amateur. What are you drinking, Britton?
Well, let me clear all the explosive beer out of here. I am drinking a dirty chai stout. It's a spiced coffee stout from Saltfire Brewing Co.
Oh, wow. Good. Well, I'm drinking the Boogie Bus, which says on the beer itself, going to Funky Town and follow the call of the disco ball.
You're going to be feeling a little weird after that one.
Yeah, I feel like there might be some mushrooms in there. That'd be kind of cool.
There's more than beer in your beer. Yeah, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Enter the Abyss for another night of spooky stories.
I love my spooky stories, man. I love them. Love them.
So I went and saw the new Nosferatu movie.
Okay,
it was pretty good.
It's like, is that like the Dracula incarnate, like the person who created vampires? I don't know.
Yeah, I'd never watched the old original Nosferatu. I think there's actually two of them, but it's like the new telling of the vampire who, brings the plague and does some crazy shit. It was pretty good, man.
It was based off the bubonic plague?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I think so, with all the rats. All the rats that brought the plague. But it was pretty good. Like it's the same guy that did Pennywise in the new It movies. Like he did Count Orlok.
Okay. Bring the rats. I'm going to vac their blood.
Okay. You again with the blood.
It sounds like you're a weird
suck
guy,
their
man.
blood, right? No, I'm going to fuck their blood.
Yes, I'm a vampire, not a pervert.
You can't be both. It's one or the other, not a pervert, a vampire.
Yeah, so was it good? Do I need to watch it? Do our viewers need to watch it?
It was good. Again, you and I seem to have pretty different tastes in a lot of the horror genre stuff, so I think it's good. I'm sure you'll go and be like, that was the biggest waste of time I've ever seen. But it was good. I like it.
I don't think I have a high bar in like what is good. Like I'm just shocked that you like the Evil Dead remake that was like brand new. Like the fact that you would even stand behind that like questions like your moral character to me.
My moral character.
Yeah,
my moral character.
You and I both know that the Evil Dead that was remade in 2010 or 2015, I don't know when it was beyond like almost multiple times better than the brand new one that came out. And Bruce Banner can literally like, he's such a shithead. Like, how dare you prop up that new movie? But anyways, so what are we speaking on tonight?
Oh, you're not even gonna let me come.
Oh yeah, go ahead, man. Talk about it.
Okay.
Defend yourself.
So look, I don't disagree. I never said that it was better than the original remake, Cleet. This is the argument is, people can like both at the same time. You do realize that you don't have to compare everything to everything else?
Incorrect, because once you have steak and they say, hey, we're going to make you a steak, and you come over and it's fucking hamburger and like 90% lean, 10% fat, like burgers, like, dude, it's not okay. It's not. Like, you should have a franchise and you need to hold it in high value and you need to keep the quality up where it is. And if it declines, it's a piece of shit because your expectations were higher. Do you not understand?
So if you gave me a steak and then you gave me a hamburger, well, that wasn't a steak, but it was a hamburger. It was still pretty good. I can still enjoy the burger. It wasn't as good as the steak.
Shut up.
Yes.
So stop. So just to make my point, if you actually cared about the franchise as a whole versus you're looking to get entertained, okay, I could see your point of view. You're looking to get entertained, but if you actually cared about the franchise itself, you would have been pissed about the newest remake because it put it in such a shitty spot. Like, it's just like Hollywood ruins everything that we hold dear.
I don't disagree with you there. Did I enjoy it? Yes. Do I think it needed to happen? No. No, I would have been fine if it didn't exist.
Did it lead up to the expectations of the prior movie and the prior ones in 1970s? Because they were like, it's like going from, it's a cinematic masterpiece. That's what it was. Like, The ones that I'm referencing, the one made in
Sure.
the 2010s and the original ones were cinematic masterpieces. However, the new one was this piece of shit. It was just looking for the most common denominator for its film. And that's what pissed me off. I think about it all the time, dude. It made me so mad. I don't think I've ever been more angry because of how much I appreciated the franchise of The Evil Dead.
I
Anyways.
couldn't tell that you were salty. I had no idea. Thanks for explaining that. Welcome to the Abyss, everybody. Sorry for the tangent. I'm going to die on that hill. It was still a good movie. Was it better than the first? No. I still enjoy it.
Yeah, so tonight we have a couple of stories for you. We're going to go back to Utah because that's our home state, and we're going to be talking about the legends of the K Cross, which is a very spooky location in Utah where Ghost Adventures actually visited to research the paranormal. Secondly, Britton will be reading from a Reddit thread, which I posted 2 years ago, about talking about the spookiest haunts that have ever happened to people on Reddit in Utah. The latter piece will just be true ghost stories, but we have quite the content for you tonight, so buckle up, maybe drink a whiskey, a beer, whatever you want, and let's learn about some spooks. I was actually thinking maybe we should visit it for our next video episode. I think that'd be really cool.
We should visit it.
So shall we jump in?
We shall. We're already
All right.
in. We're always there.
When you get the tip in, you always go all.
Oh, God. Cleat with the innuendos.
The legend of the K's Cross, Utah's most haunted landmark. In the dense woods of Kaysville, Utah, lies the infamous K's Hollow, a location steeped in mystery, tragedy, and the supernatural. At its heart once stood K's Cross, a towering stone structure measuring 20 feet high and 13 feet wide. While the cross has long been destroyed, its legacy lives on as one of Utah's most chilling and enigmatic landmarks. The origins of K Cross remain shrouded in speculation. No one knows for certain who built it or why, but the theories are as varied as they are unsettling. Some say the cross was erected to honor dark rituals, while others suggest it was a beacon of faith turned sinister by the action of those who gathered there. What's undeniable is the aura of fear and fascination that continues to surround the site even decades after its destruction. So let's talk about it. Who created K's Cross? A murderous polygamous or a religious symbol? You know, in Utah, we have our polygamists, right, Britton? You might know people who, marry multiple wives, right?
I feel like I know half of Utah.
Yeah, do you have any friends that might be interested in, having multiple wives?
I think you mentioned it at one point.
Anyways, one of the most enduring legends of K's Cross involves a murderous polygamist. According to local lore, the cross was built by a man who murdered 6 of his 7 wives. Some versions of the story claim he buried the 7th wife beneath the cross. Others say he removed her heart and sealed it inside the structure. It's this grim tale that first cemented K's Cross on a site of morbid curiosity. However, the truth may be less horrific, yet still bizarre. According to a descendant of the family who once owned the land, the cross was built in the early 20th century by Eldon Kingston, a man who left the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to establish a group of polygamous families. Kingston's religious family's beliefs were heavily influenced by Krishna Venta, a cult leader who claimed to be Jesus Christ reincarnate. Venta allegedly convinced the Kingston family to build the cross as a symbol of their faith and dedication to his teachings. While this explanation lacks the grisly drama of the murderous polygamist, it does little to dispel the air of mysticism surrounding the cross. Venta, a self-proclaimed messiah, later moved to California where he continued his cult activities until his violent death in 1958. Now, the cross itself has rumors around werewolves, ghosts, and the fact that it glows in the night. So let's talk about that. Even if the origins of K Cross are debated, its reputation as a paranormal hotspot is firmly established. Visitors have reported seeing strange phenomena, particularly during a full moon. Some claim the cross itself would glow in the moonlight, a beacon of eerie energy in the dark woods. Like, could you just imagine for a moment, like you're going through the woods and you just see this giant-ass cross that's glowing in the night? Like, what would you think, man?
I mean, living in Utah, half of the crosses we see are glowing. But it'd be weird, man. I don't know. It would definitely be. I'd go check it out because I'm dumb, and I'd be like, oh, what's this?
I'd be like,
but I think we need to go check this thing out and find a glowing cross.
Well, hang on here because we're gonna have to talk about that. But if I saw that, in the early 2000s, I'd be like, maybe I should blow it up. I'm just kidding.
You should.
Anyway,
that took a turn. What a twist.
Anyways, others tell of encounters of werewolves stuck in the area, their howls echoing through the hollows. Perhaps most chilling is the tale of the seventh wife's ghost, said to wander the site in a flowing white gown. According to legend, her restless spirit mourns her untimely death, warning trespassers of the cross's cursed energy. These stories of the supernatural drew thrill seekers and ghost hunters alike, turning Kay's Cross into a magnet of those curious about the macabre. So I just need to put into context that this has been here for a very long time, and as you know, Britton, there was the devil scare of the 1980s, where people thought devil worshippers were everywhere. Yeah, exactly. So during the 1980s, K Cross took a darker turn. Locals began reporting signs of satanic rituals being performed at the site. Farmers would find their livestock, particularly chickens, stolen, only to later discover the animals' remains scattered around the cross. Other animals, such as dogs and raccoons, were also found mutilated in ways that suggested ritualistic sacrifices. The satanic activity added a new layer of fear to the K's Cross. Residents began to avoid the area altogether, and rumors of devil worship spread through Kaysville. The once sacred symbol had become a vocal point of those dabbling in the occult, further cementing its reputation as a place of darkness. Now, let's talk about the explosion of 1992. Kind of talking about the comment I made earlier. The mystery surrounding K's Cross reached its peak in 1992 when the cross was destroyed in a massive explosion. The blast was so loud it echoed through Kaysville, waking residents up in the middle of the night. I would like to imagine like some farmer that lost his chickens and like he found like the fucking bones in the cross and he's like, I'm sick of these Satanists. I'm going to blow up their goddamn cross. Like, I feel like that's what happened. Like, that's just me.
That's what it's leading to.
But anyways, to this day, no one knows who was responsible. Some believe that Kaysville police bombed the cross in an effort to deter trespassers and put an end to the rituals taking place on the private property. However, the police department has denied any involvement. I would hope they would. Like, yeah, you know what? You're right. We fucking blew it up. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, how did you know it was us? Like, literally, like, I'm not going to lie to you. Yeah, we blew that shit up.
Others speculate the explosion was the work of vandals, or perhaps even an attempt by occultists to unleash the energy tapped within the cross. The destruction of the cross did little to stop trespassers, who continued to visit the site in search of answers or thrills. If anything, the explosion seemed to heighten the paranormal activity in Kay's Hollow. Visitors began reporting an increase in sightings of shadowy figures, unexplained lights, and strange sounds emanating from the woods. An eyewitness account of the Man in Black. One chilling encounter occurred in 1995 when a local man, Joe Daniels, ventured into the hollow to investigate the ruins of K Cross. I've heard all the stories, Joe said, but I didn't believe them. I thought it was just a bunch of kids making stuff up. As he approached the area where the cross once stood, Joe claimed he saw a figure dressed in black standing among the rubble. He wasn't moving, just standing there, staring at me. I called out, thinking it was another person, but he didn't respond. Then all of a sudden, he was gone. Just disappeared into thin air. Joe left immediately, but he said the experience stayed with him. I've never felt fear like that before. It was like something didn't want me there. Now, when we talk about Kay's Cross, we need to talk about the hanging tree. As if the legends surrounding Kay's Cross weren't dark enough, the area became even more infamous in 2005 when a man hanged himself from a tree near the ruins. The incident added to the site's already grim reputation, with some locals believing the man was driven to his death by the hollow's cursed energy. To this day, visitors report feeling an overwhelming sense of despair near that tree, as if the weight of the tragedy still lingers in the air. Now let's talk about some modern-day hauntings. Despite its destruction, Kay's Cross continues to attract curious visitors, especially during the Halloween season. The current owners of the land opened the site to the public in October, allowing people to explore the area and experience its eerie atmosphere for themselves. Paranormal investigators have captured strange phenomena at the site, including orbs of light, unexplained shadows, and EVP recordings of whispers and growls. I'm telling you, Britton, we need to go there with our little, our ghost rods and our, Spirit box? Yeah.
Take the Ouija board.
Visitors often report feeling watched, hearing disembodied footsteps, or experiencing sudden temperature drops. One hiker, in 2020, described the feeling of being followed as he walked through the hollow. It's like something was right behind me the whole time, he said. I couldn't hear the crunch of leaves, but when I turned around, there was nothing there. The enduring mystery of Kay's Cross is more than just a local landmark. It's a symbol of the unknown. Whether it was a simple religious monument, the site of horrific crimes, or a gateway to something otherworldly, its stories continue to captivate and terrify those who hear it. For those brave enough to visit, Kay's Hollow offers a glimpse into the world where history and myth collide, and where the line between reality and the supernatural blurs. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. The legend of Kay's Cross is far from over. And I'm telling you, Britton, we should take a look into it. I think it's an interesting thing. It's blown up, but its remnants are still there, and I think we should check it out. And maybe we should, I don't know, I guess you can't camp there, but we should definitely bring the spiritual wizardry of our spirit box, our Ouija board, and our ghost rods.
You can't camp there?
I don't think so, because I think it's on private property, but I'll have to check it out.
All right. Well, we're going to go check out Kay's Cross, but I also am curious, for your listeners, once we hit 1,000 subs on YouTube, we do want to go somewhere else as well. So let us know where you'd like to see us go, and we'll make it happen. But we're going to jump to the Reddit thread that Cleet mentioned that he posted a couple years back, asking people looking for true ghost stories from Utah natives. So we're going to jump into this first one from Calling Me Kiprix. I worked at a Noodles and Company for many, many years in Utah County, and my boss there was certain that it was haunted. I didn't believe her, even with all the stories she had told me over the years of this place. Yeah, there's a Noodles and Co. right down the street.
I know, that's is that a Utah thing, or is that everywhere? Noodles and Co.
I'm curious. I don't know.
I dated a girl who worked there, so it's interesting.
Interesting. The first thing she ever mentioned was this one manager they had that nobody liked. Literally nobody. And that apparently included the ghost. This guy was this guy was a drug addict and was constantly doing things wrong on purpose to get out of doing those things because he couldn't do them right. It's like, hey, will you run out the garbage? He's like, oops, I keep dropping the garbage all over the floor.
Piece of shit.
What a dumbass. Like, I just keep doing shit wrong and they just won't ask me anymore.
You're throwing out the trash? Well, maybe you are the trash.
Well, one day, he was cutting tomatoes at the prep station that was against a wall where our magnet strip was, where we stuck our knives to. Blades pointing down, of course. Well, he's just doing his job, and all the knives suddenly popped off the magnet strip and came crashing down onto his cutting board and tomatoes, completely missing him. Something similar happened to him where they had a stack of bowls set up near him while doing dishes, and the whole stack aggressively fell on top of him. Now, these stories are all anecdotal and are kind of tame, but then she told me the story of another manager who worked there. This manager only closed. Her husband would always come get her after closing, so she would sometimes wait in the closed, empty restaurant for him. Well, one day, my general manager went to go work at another Noodles in the city over, and these two locations are probably the closest of any Noodles location, and she happened to drive by her restaurant this night on her way home, seeing her manager in the lobby with her husband. She called to make sure that she was fine because normally she'd leave once he got there. The manager then informed her that she was completely alone and has been, and was still waiting for her husband, so my general manager told her to get out. That'd be creepy. It's like, hey, I see your husband's in there with you. You all good? She's like, no, I'm alone, so what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, you want to get out of there right now.
It's fucking creepy, man.
Then I had my own experience with this place. The first I have to say is I've worked at 6 different Noodles locations, all ranging from Salt Lake in Utah County to Grand Junction, Colorado, and Kansas City, Kansas. Oh, well, that answers our question. It's not just Utah. And I've been alone at night after closing at all these places. Hell, I even waited at the Grand Junction location for 2 hours after closing because we had hood cleaners coming and they fucked up their arrival time. And I never, ever felt what I felt at the location this story is about. There were many times that I could go from feeling calm and fine to absolute dread, so bad that it would cause me to shake and panic, making me want to leave the restaurant ASAP, and usually resulted in just calling my husband or keeping another closer with me until we left. There were other minor things that would happen. You would constantly see something walking around a corner in the lobby if you were in the kitchen, and I experienced it on a daily basis where I would see movement in my peripheral. There were photographs all along the walls of the restaurant of random things from around the world, but one of them refused to ever stay on the wall. And then there were the classic nail with a wire hook on the back of it framed photographs, but this specific one, which was literally just a rainbow over a hill, and I believe Scotland, would constantly come off the wall. Sometimes they would come in the morning and it would be on the floor, or it would happen during business hours. I would just move the picture. It's like that.
Like, you know what? This picture's not working out. We're going to get rid of it.
But I have one specific experience that I truly cannot explain, and I would call one of my scariest encounters with something I couldn't explain. I was closing with another manager after a super long, shitty night, so we're just there around midnight when we closed at 10. Well, we were standing next to a sink that was attached to the side of our walk-in. The door to said walk-in was just around the corner of it. We were putting liners in trash cans, and the walk-in door was completely open. The handle of the door was touching the sink when it was open as much as it would open. Both of us were not within arm's reach of this door while putting in liners. The thing with our walk-in and some walk-ins is the door makes a noise as you push on them. They sometimes creak slightly or make specific kinds of noises that comes from a plastic metal door having put force into it. Well, we both heard this noise, and we watched as the walk-in door shut as if it had been pushed pretty well. We both looked at each other and genuinely asked each other if we said truly did we see that and that the other didn't push the door, and decided that we were done, got our shit, and walked out, texting our boss. This is a different GM than the one who felt the restaurant was haunted. This one was a huge skeptic. We were creeped out by the restaurant, basically didn't finish the few manager things we had left because neither of us wanted to be there. Then there's an edit. I forgot to add this story that is too good not to mention. The alarms at this place would always go off randomly at night. Which door or sensor would trigger it was always random. Sometimes the trigger would be light, so it only caused the camera company people to give a call to my general manager or any other person that would answer on a list of specific people to call in this case. Sometimes the cops called automatically. The story was after my original. Ghost believing GM was gone, and I had my skeptical boss. The alarm was triggered this night, and the call list the security company had was outdated, so when they tried to call the original GM, who was in a time zone ahead and most definitely asleep, they called me. I remember seeing this call, but I didn't pick it up because I don't answer random calls from any random numbers. So they called the next number. Another manager who had actually been there longer than me ended up going to disarm the alarms. Once she got there, the 2 cops were waiting for her immediately, asked her if she had just shown up. She told them that, yeah, of course, you literally watched me pull up in my car. Well, the cops asked her if the place was haunted, and she kind of laughed and said that we think it might be haunted by Gustav, the name my original GM gave him, because she always said she felt like the energy was very male. Well, these two cops tell my coworker that when they first showed up to the scene, the alarm was going off still, but when they went to check the restaurant, they were able to get inside the side door that was unlocked, which does happen, and possibly triggered the alarm. But when they got into the lobby, they said they could hear a woman repeatedly shouting, "Hello," from the back of the house. They could even make it through those annoying screeching alarms most businesses use. They scoped out the entire building, making sure to watch the door they came in through, which was the only door that was unlocked, and they couldn't find anyone. My coworker was pretty creeped out by the story herself, as she had pretty scary things happen to her there as well. Also, to set the alarms, there couldn't be any motion in the lobby, and all the front doors had to be shut and not moving. I cannot tell you how many times I had to stand there and wait for the red light on the camera in the lobby that indicated any motion to go off so I could set the alarm. Granted, this system could have just been really faulty and bad because it had always randomly went off. No other locations had the same problem, and we all used the same equipment. I don't know, man. What do you think?
I think Noodles and Company had some spaghetti and ghosts.
A haunted Noodles and Co. We should find out this location and go see if that picture's on the wall.
Yeah, I'll take it. Take it home.
Just go
with
knock
me.
it down. Hey, this picture's down. Can I take it?
It'd be a shame if someone took this picture. Casper.
All right, this next one comes from Soft Mathematician 47. I have a couple of stories that happened to my brother, dad, and uncle. This happened in Leeds, Utah, at a place called Babylon. Keep in mind that in the second story, my dad and uncle were with each other when it happened, but my brother was with his friends, so the times they happened were years apart. The first one, a very mild story, was that my uncle and brother, again, they weren't with each other, both saw a little girl there, so yes, a very mild story. But the second story is not so mild. So let me give a little background as to why I heard these stories. My dad, my sister, uncle, and me were all hanging out while watching a movie. The movie kept getting stopped for breaks, and during one of these breaks, my dad, who never admits to being scared of anything, was talking about sketchy stuff that happened during his life, and one of these things were Babylon. My dad would not tell me or my sister about this story, so a few days later at work, I told my brother that our dad wouldn't tell me the story. So my brother mentioned his story of Babylon, where he talked about how when he went to Babylon, he was with a couple of his friends, and when he was there, he heard rocks falling from a far distance. Pretty normal, right? Not so much as those sounds of rocks falling got closer and closer and closer. So when the sound got to about 20 feet away, he and his friends ran to the car and they drove away, which behind them they saw something that he couldn't describe, chasing him. The same exact story happened to my uncle, because the same day that I asked my brother, I asked my uncle if anything scary happened to him at Babylon. My dad owns a mechanical building, and we all work there with him, so I just went over and asked him. And my uncle described the exact same thing to me. Keep in mind that they couldn't coordinate with each other to try and scare me, because right after I heard my brother's story, I went and asked my uncle. My uncle described the same thing happened to him, all the way down to the details of the rocks falling sound. I know this story sounds fake, but I believe that it's real. The main reason for me to believe it is because my dad later even described the same part of Babylon as my uncle and brother did when I talked about the story with him. Keep in mind that my dad wasn't with us when my brother and uncle told me the story, so him knowing the same place it happened just can't be coincidence. Lot of
Yeah.
Now keep in mind they weren't together, so they couldn't have made this shit up.
Yeah, it has to be true. It has to be. So thank you, Reddit from Utah. Although, are there any other stories on there, Britain, that you want to read?
All right, this one comes from Spock's Pointy Dick. I seen ghosts and demons at the infamous devil-worshipping site known as Kay's Cross in Kaysville. Hey, look at that. This was back in like 95, before some Mormons blew up the cross with dynamite. True story. I'm sure there's a news article about it in the archives. All right, and this comes from Noveski CQB. There's a Mexican restaurant downtown that has a haunted bathroom. Oh, God. Okay. Legend has it that Pancho Villa will tickle your butthole if you drop a deuce in the middle stall in the men's restroom every other Tuesday, and sometimes Friday nights if you order the number 3 combo with beans.
That's fucked, man.
I think you've been to that restaurant a lot, Cleet. You always like
I don't
to
know,
go
man.
every other Tuesday.
I don't think it's a ghost, Britain. I think that's you. I think you're in that toilet.
All right, so that's all the scary ghost stories from Utah. So we're going to kind of pivot to some other true ghost stories, supposed true ghost stories from online. And this one comes from Formal Pen 3239, and it's titled The Old Abandoned Hospital at My Work. For context, I, male, 18, just started a new job at a hospital. And there is one building built in 1867 that I got to explore recently with beautiful architecture and creepy hallways. So I asked about if any of the staff had stories, and I got 3 good ones from a member of staff. Let's call him Dave. I bet Dave spins some good tales.
I bet.
Story 1. So one night in this building, the security break box was broken, so none of the security team members came down to check it out. He then called Dave to come fix it. When Dave got there, the security guy was down in the car park and nowhere near the back entrance, where the repairs were needed. Dave spoke to the guy, who refused to go close to the building with him, so he went by himself. As he was fixing the security break box, he heard some small tapping noises, as if someone were throwing marbles or small stones at a brick wall. Dave shouted to the security guy, "Stop fucking about," and the guard replied that he wasn't doing anything. So Dave just carried on and again heard the tapping noises the entire time, not seeing any rocks landing or hitting any walls around him. When he finished, he went back down to the security guard, and the guard asked what he was talking about earlier, and Dave just said that he thought the guy was fucking about, and to that, the guard said, "Did you hear rocks being thrown at you?" Dave said, "Yeah," and then the guard said, "That's why I'm fucking down here." The specific experience has been told by a lot of the staff. Story 2. In this building, there's a basement, because of course there is, that has open stairs as you go down, and there's a long hallway at the bottom of the stairs with some pipes and some other old things that were important to keep this place running. One night, Dave was down there with another colleague, and they were walking towards the end of this hallway, and Dave sees a dark, shadowy figure quickly move at the end of the hallway, and just brushed it off to being a trick of the light, and or something psychological. And then his colleague asks him if he had seen it, to which Dave said, "Seen what?" The other guy that was there described the shadow figure at the end of the hallway in the same space, and stated he had seen it a few times, but thought it was just his shadow. Story 3. Another night, Dave and a different staff member were working up in the attic with only their head torches, and Dave's colleague was mucking about and asked, "If there are any spirits around, give us a sign." And immediately there was a large, loud crash from across the attic, and so they whipped their heads around to look where it came from. There was nothing there at all, nothing that could have caused the crash. No boxes had fallen, no humans, no animals, nothing to explain the crash, to which the other staff member said, "Well, fuck, I think I've said the wrong thing." Most employees will not go into that building alone or anywhere near it at night. Even security guards will miss it off their checks at night because they're too scared to go near. This doesn't mean nobody checks it. There are plenty of cameras around this area. Now, taking all this info in and more, would it be dumb to ask if someone would let me in at night to experience this for myself, to see if there are any truth to these stories as the ghost that haunts at night? Probably.
This one is called Growing Up in Scotland. I grew up in a large old house in rural Scotland during the 1980s. The house had a long, steep footpath from the gate to the house, up a slope too steep for a car. We used to have milk delivered between 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. by the local milkman, but after a while they stopped delivering to the doorstep, choosing to drop the bottles at the bottom of the gate. My mom asked why the milkman said his lad was scared of the gardener. We didn't have a gardener, and my mom didn't push back or question it, simply putting it down to a lazy milkman's lad or them wanting to speed through delivery. A few months went past, and my brothers had a friend over to play. His friend told my mom that Sandy's grandpa is in the front garden. He's just standing there with his fork, not saying anything. My mom wondered who it was. Walking around the house, saw nothing, asked what he looked like, and had a description of a man with a white beard, tweed bonnet, worn tweed clothing, and trousers held up by tied string. Mom thought it sounded like the village alcoholic and mentally diminished man who did odd jobs, known as Billy. Everyone knew Billy, and my brother's friends said no. Billy doesn't have a beard, and my mom said, of course he doesn't. Must be someone else. Other than the beard, this was a good description of Billy. Mum thought nothing more. About 6 months later, we had swapped to a new dairy delivering to us from a town about 10 miles away because Mom was fed up with collecting milk from the gate. After a few weeks, there was a smashed milk bottle on the doorstep, and then they stopped delivering, same as before. My mom phoned up to speak with them, and they said they'd speak to the lad doing the run, an 18-year-old. He told them that he was scared by the old man gardening and was sorry for smashing the bottle, but he startled him by standing over him. This time, my mom asked what he looked like and had the same description my brother's friend gave. Old man with a beard, wear a cape and old tweeds. There are, of course, lots of plausible explanations, but it is the one thing I can't explain because the milkman wouldn't have known each other, and my brother's friend, who was about 10, would know the milkman either. There are no other incidents in the 15 years we lived there after that. My dad was a local doctor and ex-military man. Being very much the scientist, even set up little trigger traps with fishing lines and tent pegs to see if they would be disturbed by someone passing through the garden. But they were never triggered. No idea if this was an actual old man who gardened or whatever. I'm not religious and don't believe in fairies, but this is the closest I've come to it. So this is essentially some ghost scaring the milkman. I don't know, man. The milkman can be pretty crafty. He hides, and only certain people see him.
Yeah. He has to deliver milk when no one can see him.
And babies. Out of wedlock.
Damn milkman just giving his seed.
That's why that one person was like, better not be the milkman, son of a bitch. I'm going to find him.
Not again.
I'm going to set milkman traps.
The milkman did it once. He won't
Never
do it
again.
This one comes from I'm Okay, No Thanks, and it's called My Continuous and Very Frightening Experience of Goatman's Bridge, Denton, Texas. Hi. For reference, I'm a 24-year-old female. Okay, I'm going to start out by apologizing for not adding any photos, tangible proof, or deep history lessons here. I would appreciate if you all could not accuse me of lying or being mentally ill. There was no drugs involved in this. This is 100% true. You must take me at my word because this is still an ongoing experience in me, and I am physically affected every day by ongoing nausea, especially when I look at the photos or talk about the history of this haunted place. Man, she's saying like I can't look at the photos, but she's like, I'm sorry I didn't post photos. Like, let me see the photos. I'm trying my best to avoid making matters worse. I feel grueling resistance as I'm typing this, and I'm fighting the nausea right at this moment. So I hope you can understand. And she's setting this thing up to be really good.
Better be.
Last Sunday was Father's Day. I was with my boyfriend, my mom, and my dad sitting at the dinner table eating when the topic of ghost hunting came up. My boyfriend, let's call him B, and I love this type of thing. Neither of us are particularly religious. We're a couple of open-minded, curious agnostics, so the idea that spirits could exist and possibly show themselves to us excites us very much. We had heard about this Goatman's Bridge, officially called Old Alton Bridge, from a couple sources, friends, Ghost Adventures TV show, and other articles online. We also live relatively close to the location. Please look up the history yourself. Just Google Goatman's Bridge, Denton history. I will tell you it's KKK-related gruesome violence, leading to the death of a successful African American that lived nearby. Every time I read about it now, I feel like I'm going to puke. So, anyways, we decided to go. My dad has never encountered a spirit before, and this place seemed to be a very popular spot for ghost hunting. We went at about 10 p.m., a prime time to explore the bridge and hike the trails with little interruption. The bridge at first was empty and seemed a bit spooky, but we didn't see anything out of the ordinary there. We then hiked a couple different trails nearby. The first one was completely fine, no activity. The second trail, we saw a pair of glowing eyes in the distance when I shone my flashlight in that direction. We all think it was a deer. Third trail, we came up to this very scary-looking graffiti-covered structure. It had words like, "We all die." It had 2 pentagrams within the letters of that. There were stars across the top of it with fake blood dripping from every other one, and it also had a number of symbols and words that none of us, for Google Lens, could decipher. Although we all did see my nickname, Jen, written, slightly hidden, with another acronym. I forgot what it was, and I'm not going to look at the pictures right now. Sorry. Later, B had dug some more online and found out that the structure is actually an altar that had been used for animal sacrifices. It is still being used in rituals by a modern group called the Dark KKK. All in all, the most exciting part about going to the place itself was me tripping over a root and bruising both knees. The only paranormal activity that 3 of us had witnessed was my dad expressing he felt an unexplainable quick tap on his back a few yards from the altar. So we go back to the bridge, and to our surprise, about 4 or 5 men, white, early 20s, were sitting on the spider-infested bridge, smoking cigarettes and remaining unusually silent. Are you flipping your cat off, you dickhead?
Yeah, I am, dude. What's wrong with that?
What a dick. I honestly don't know why anyone would hang out there at midnight and not have flashlights or anything. But hey, maybe they're just kind of weirdos. Who knows? I don't have a very good feeling about them, though. As soon as I got in the car, I felt like I was going to puke. I was not sick with any illness. I'm not sick now either. At first I believed it was and is a visceral reaction to the haunted place. Now I know it was and is something more. When we got home, I was in immense pain, unspeakable, excruciating nausea. I went to go wash my hands in the bathroom. When I looked at my reflection, I didn't recognize myself. I was looking into someone else's eyes. I met the gaze of someone violent, someone with immense hate. It was not my reflection. Rather, someone or something was using my body to see through me. I know this sounds crazy, but it just gets crazier. I apologize on some of these upcoming details. I was not in control of my body or my mind at this time. My memory of this part is almost dreamlike. B could see that something had changed in me. He told me to lie down because the nausea was making lightheaded and very dizzy. I remember B asking me a series of questions. I don't remember most, but I do remember saying that I am not Jen. I remember how my hate-filled gaze felt resting upon B's eyes. I remember my dog not coming over to me like she usually does. I remember telling B that I was unsure of whether he should stay or not because I was afraid I would hurt him. Physically, I felt extremely violent, to the point that I was digging my nails into my hands as hard as I could, but could feel no pain. I remember wanting to break his hand when I was holding it. I remember fixating on a wall filled with very old photos of my ancestors, and having a feeling that whatever was in me is trying to learn how to become me. I still think that last feeling I mentioned is lingering in me even today. The next day I woke up and couldn't shake the thought that I had this new body. I tried doing things I don't normally do. I was testing my pleasures, my body, its limits. Oh, this is going to get weird. This is going to get weird. Why do I always get the weird ones? I think whatever took over my body is mostly gone. It's a possibility that I may be in fact haunting my own psyche, since that night is a reaction to try to cope. But both B and I know that something took hold of me that night, and I am paying for that every single day. In the pictures I took with my DSLR, some with flash and without, in almost every photo, if you zoomed all the way in, you could see at least one red, strange-looking pixel lurking in different parts of the photo. I have absolutely no clue if this is a camera-related issue or not, but I become more physically ill the longer I look at them. So as you know, B did more digging on Google after this whole thing, and he actually found out that women typically have had stronger paranormal experiences or reactions at Goatman's Bridge, and could be related to this evil spirit named Steve? ? I do not wish to say any more. I do not wish to say any more about that, so please feel free to look it up. So went to Goatman's Bridge, nothing happened, but she left with something that's haunting her.
All right, fair enough. Thank you for joining us tonight about our spooky stories.
I want to give a huge shout out to our paid supporters of the show: Soylent Cleat, Modelo Time, Cleat Feet, Curtis and Lara, Mothman, Conklin Family, Lara, and Lou. Your paid support of the show is tremendously helpful, so we really appreciate that. And if you yourself would like to become a paid supporter of the show, simply click the link down below. There are several tiers to choose from, as well as a one-time link to donate to the beer fund of the show, so you can help us find some crazy beers to drink while we tell you about the spooky stories. And as we chase our 1,000 YouTube subscribers, please let us know where you'd like us to visit, and we will see what we can do to make that happen.
If you're listening to us on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe, as it really helps us get us out there. And as always, thank you for entering the abyss. Until next time.
You fucking dick. Until next time.